Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on this webinar, Selling to Business B2B in the Digital Age. Ricky is my name, and I am a digital business advisor at Business Station. And we provide advice to small business on how to improve their use of digital technology to promote and grow their business. But we'll talk more about that later. Now, a little bit about me. I've got a background in B2B sales and business development and product marketing. And some of these were with the largest organizations or fastest growing organizations in the world at the time. I've participated or ran many bid teams responding to tenders and RFPs and RFQs. Now, for the last 15, 20 years or so, I've been focused primarily on the digital marketing space. So hopefully, I can show you how with this insight and using the digital platforms available today, you can improve your chances of uncovering opportunities and closing more deals in the B2B marketplace. So having said that, let's have a look at what we're going to talk about today. So first thing we'll talk about is just the B2B market sales and the marketplace and the sales process at a high level. So what are its unique features and how does it differ from consumer marketing, for example? We'll talk about the importance of having a strong online presence, including, a website, social media, and all those sorts of channels, and how you can use this online presence to achieve a range of different marketing goals. We'll discuss inbound marketing as a way to attract leads to your business, and I'll show you how to use a range of tools and apps to improve your marketing and increase your chances of winning more business. So this is what we're trying to avoid, essentially, is, you put your proposal into a business and the decision maker looks at your proposal and they've never heard of you. And as we know, this is the first hurdle you've got to get across. So, and one of the ways to do that in this digital age is through digital marketing. And we'll talk about that as we go through this. So we talk about now, we'll just cover what I guess makes selling to business different from selling to consumers. So the first thing that's different is that there are more decision makers. So for example, you might have the overall boss, the CEO or the COO or the chief financial officer, the general manager. It could be some sort of technical specialist, an engineering manager, or something like that, and influencers. So influencers are a range of different types of decision makers. It could be the user influencers, the people that actually use your solution might influence whose solution they're going to go with. So multiple decision makers, strategic, if you like, it's often referred to. Because of those different decision makers and the number of them, often there's a longer sales cycle. Not just because of that. There's a number of other reasons, and we'll talk about them next, but a longer sales cycle is a key feature of the B2B marketplace. So, you're not looking to close the deal on the first meeting in most cases. It's about building a relationship over the shorter to medium, longer term, for example. So having a buy now button on the website when they first enter it probably won't cut it, for example, when we're talking about B2B. And that's partly because they're looking for a longer term relationship with their suppliers, their vendors, their providers, as opposed to B2B clients that are generally not so much concerned about the longer term relationship. And B2B customers want a more detailed understanding of the product or the solution, particularly for big ticket items, and where they're using that product. They've got to have much more in-depth understanding of it before they make a decision. So it's not a spontaneous decision. Generally speaking, when it comes to B2B sales. It's considered and cautious and based on relationships. You also, so with that in mind, you also have to think about, for each of these types of customers, you know, where are they in their buying journey with you? For example, you know, have they ever heard of you, for example? You know, and depending on the type of business and where they are in that journey, they are going to be seeking different types of information. And, you know, so one of the solutions or ways around this in the digital marketing space is to use inbound marketing, for example, where you're targeting different users at different stages of their journey with you with different types of content. So you can provide relevant information to the potential customer depending on where they are. So are they looking for example, to identify what their problem is in this particular example? So they're looking for thought leadership in terms of, you know, what they're going to be attracted to. So things about, you know, how other people are solving this problem, how to guide basic beginner type 101 type education on the particular problem. Or are they know what their problem is, they're now looking for potential solutions or product suitability for that problem fix. So this is where you're talking about solution comparisons, you know, how they choose a vendor, what the key things they need to be aware of, what pitfalls they need to be aware of, getting them ready, and are they suitable for particular types of solutions, for example, versus the final stage, which is where they're deciding on, you know, between a few nominated suppliers and deciding on which one they're going to go with based on things like, you know, their testimonials, their reviews, costs or total cost of ownership or return on investment, relationship, for example, support, a range of different factors. So depending on where your customer is or potential customer, you've got to provide them with different types of information. And like I said, this is really what we're talking about here is inbound marketing. So it uses a combination of content marketing of different types, email marketing, social media marketing, search engine optimization, and digital advertising. So that's what we might refer to as the channels for inbound marketing versus, say, the traditional outbound marketing, which would be things like trade shows or cold calling, print advertising, networking events, etc. Now, we're not saying these are things that you shouldn't be doing, but maybe the focus in a lot of instances is skewed more towards outbound rather than inbound. All right, hopefully I showed you that before. Okay, so inbound marketing is important, and this is where it becomes important to identify the tools that you're going to use to communicate at different levels with those customers. So when they're first investigating you know, what solutions are out there or what their problem is, you need a range of different channels. So are they going to go to, for example, to a search engine and search for a potential solution? That's where, you know, search engine visibility, your Google business profile, your website become very, very important. So let's talk about a website firstly. Why do you need a website? Because this is basically where people are going to decide on whether you're one of the solutions to their particular problems that they're going to consider. So it's a way for you to build brand awareness when they're first looking for solutions, to build credibility, to demonstrate your capabilities, for example, promote case studies, testimonials, introduce your team, skills that you might have, promote your products and services. So it's a great platform for doing a lot of those things. Use search engine optimization and search engine marketing, for example, to get found when people are searching for things online. So they're using Google or Bing to try and identify what their particular problem is or solutions to that particular problem. So your search page becomes quite important from that regard. So if you think about whether it's advertising or Google My Business or SEO or what we call organic results, they're all going to be a key driver of traffic to your particular website. And you can still use this to target customers at different stages of their journey. So, you know, when they are looking for comparisons, you know, they might discover a blog, for example, that you've written about, you know, different comparisons of different solutions in the industry, for example. Google My Business, particularly if you're, say, a local service provider, you know, then Google My Business is very important, but it also raises your overall visibility. It's Google My Business is three things, and one of those things is a business directory, and it's Google's business directory. It's your profile on that business directory, so that becomes very, very important. And then there's social media marketing. So depending on which channels you choose, you know, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, for example. So LinkedIn is a, you know, fantastic social media marketing platform for targeting people in your particular industry. So you can target down to the individual decision maker. And this is why LinkedIn is great, because 4 out of 5 LinkedIn members drive decisions. So, you know, they're the people you should be speaking to and connecting to. And a LinkedIn audience, as opposed to the average web audience, has 2 times the buying power. So, you know, a very important audience to connect and engage with and start to promote some of your content to these decision makers and even potentially advertise on this channel as opposed to maybe other channels, because of the unique targeting capabilities of LinkedIn. Okay, so that's a bit of a summary of inbound marketing and the different tools that you could use to target different people, decision makers, influencers at different stages of their decision-making journey and journey with you in terms of becoming a customer. So let's just reinforce that again. So what we're talking about here essentially is a sales funnel. You would have heard a sales funnel. You would have heard of some sales funnels before, I'm sure. You know, and what we're talking about here is a digital marketing type sales funnel. So I think for B2B customers, this becomes even more relevant, essentially, because you've got that longer sales cycle. So let's look at the, well, before I head off to the next slide, just talk about this one briefly. So if you're not aware of what the funnel is, basically it's about getting people that aren't aware of your business or your solution into that funnel. So that's the awareness stage. So you're creating awareness of your brand, your product, your solution, your services through advertising or through getting found on search or through social media posts or maybe a blog post. They discover you in a range of different ways. It could be email marketing. They come into the top of the funnel. It's then about turning that lead, if you like, into a prospect by providing a range of different types of content to them to move them down that tunnel or funnel. And then finally, to turn that prospect into an opportunity and a customer by convincing them that you're the right solution for them. So that's essentially what we're talking about here. So at different stages of that funnel, they're going to want different types of information. So, you know, like I said previously, it's about being that thought leader. So sharing knowledge and insights into the particular pain point or solution or industry, you know, and help them solve their particular pain point or at least identify what they need to do. So build, you know, it's a good point to sort of build trust by being that thought leader. So content that they might be looking for might be things like explainer videos or guides, white papers, blogs, ebooks, infographics, that's meant to say, sorry, that sort of thing. So it's information that they can use to identify what their problem is and how to potentially find a solution to that problem. And this is obviously going to be relevant to your particular business and product or service. Then at the middle stage of that funnel, really what they're looking for here is they're really considering the different solutions and whether you're going to be part of that solution or potential solution. So here they're looking to explore their needs, their specific needs, look at different solutions and available out there in the marketplace, and really trying to identify what solutions they need. So really they're looking for guides, solution comparisons, webinars, videos, podcasts, walkthroughs, all sorts of types of information that are going to help them decide on the best solution for their particular scenario. And then the bottom of the funnel here, we're really trying to, turn this prospect into an opportunity or a customer, essentially. So this is where you want to highlight your expertise, your testimonials and your case studies, reinforce why you're the best solution for them, essentially. So ways you can do that is through case studies or customer testimonials, comparing yourself with other solutions, for example. One-on-ones, this is where it's a good opportunity to have a personal consultancy, for example, or a live demo, for example, or an evaluation, a trial of your service. Okay, so to enable you to do this, like I've mentioned previously, you really need a strong online presence. And this is so that you can build awareness of your capabilities, your products, your services, your brand, and attract visitors to your website where you have an opportunity to convert them. So there are many ways that you can enhance your online presence. And here are some of the examples, for example. They include, your website, being visible on search engines, social media channels, email marketing, business directories, for example, online articles or blogs. So one of the key ways, though, like I said before, is through a website. And that's what I was referring to previously. Why is the your online presence important? This is why it's important, because this is how decision makers make their decisions nowadays. So 9 out of 10 buyers, B2B buyers, are using online content to make decisions, if not wholly, at least to a moderate or major effect. So if you're not visible out there in the marketplace, you're not going to be in that potential solution in the client's mind. 84% of CEOs and VPs use social media to make purchasing decisions. That's a high proportion of CEOs and VPs. So you should be out there promoting your particular solutions to these decision makers on whatever you think is the most appropriate social media channel for your particular product or service. And 67% of the buyer's journey is now done digitally. So if you think about, at least a part of that towards the end, where they may be doing face-to-face meetings, really that's a lot of that journey is now done online. So, let's talk about some of the basics here. Why do you need a website? Like I said previously, it's a great starting point to build brand awareness. So, for example, if you're looking for something in a particular location, widget suppliers in Townsville, that's how people become aware that you exist, because you're on a list and people can find you in a search result. You're in Google My Business, for example, if I look for something a bit more specific there. This is partly about building brand awareness. And the easiest way to build brand awareness from a search engine perspective is by having a website. It also allows you to build credibility. If you've got a professional website and it showcases your skills and capabilities and provides a nice user experience, that builds credibility and trust, essentially, with your customers. So, yep, it's a great starting point to showcase your case studies, for example, your capabilities, and promote your testimonials. So get some good testimonials, some good reviews, and put them on there. It's also a great place for you to introduce your team. Now, this obviously isn't a real team, but your team is really your strength. So this is where your skills and capabilities, your specialist team members come into play, and you can promote them on a website. So really what we're talking about here is nothing more than you would have to show someone if you were responding to an RFP or request for quote, a tender. You know, these are things that people are going to want to know anyway, and they need to be on your website because people are using your website and your online platforms to make decisions about you. It's also a great place for you, obviously, to promote your products and services. So people can go to your website, you know, see what you do and check out your products and services and maybe get more engaged that way. And, you know, you're instantly potentially on that list of potential solutions that they're looking at. Okay, so the first thing, you've got a website. Now, you've got to make sure that that website gets found, obviously, and gets found by the right people. So your qualified leads, if you like. So how do you do that? You do that through SEO. You optimize your site around particular search terms that your B2B customers are using to find businesses or solutions like yours. And we know this is important because, we know this is how our search engines work, because Google tells us so. So the most basic signal that information is relevant is when a web page contains the same keywords as the search query. So you've got to make sure that the search query, the thing that people are searching for, that content or that search term is on your website. Very, very important. So really your goal should be, from an SEO point of view, to try and identify what those keyword phrases are. But you've got to do that uniquely for each page. So every page, every product, every service needs to have a unique keyword phrase. And I'm saying phrase because ideally 3 to 5 words that identify that page and what it's about. And then you use that keyword phrase to write quality content, or you're optimizing your site around that keyword. So you're writing titles that include the keyword, descriptions that include that keyword, copy, and the images also have that in their description, essentially. So I can't stress how important that is from an overall brand visibility perspective, because in some cases, this might be 50+% of your traffic coming to you, driving traffic to your website will be through this source. So I think it's important to get that right. So the first place to start is to do some keyword research, to think about what are people searching for and how can I use those keywords that people are searching for to develop a keyword phrase that I can use on my website. So a Google search page or a Bing search page is a good starting point. I've put workplace safety equipment in there. And there's some ads. There's Google My Business. And then there's some search terms. So what people also ask, and this is showing what other people are using for what this is called your meta title and your meta description, basically your search results and what words they're using there. So if you do this for a little bit and play around, you'll get a feel for what is the search term that you think you should be using. You could also look down here where Google suggests, or there are other search terms that other people have searched for. So I would probably do that and have a look around, do that. That's called Google Suggest. Get some other ideas from that and just start to build a list until you're happy that you've identified one primary keyword phrase that you want to rank for. Just showing Google Shopping here. Just seeing what other, because it is search based. Okay, so start off on a search page, do some basic keyword research. Then I would probably use something like Keyword Planner, which is from Google. It's free, it's part of Google Ads. And what it allows you to do is put those words into here. Yeah, so if you have Google Ads, you just go to the menu there and you can choose Google Planner, put the words in that you want to research. So I've put workplace safety, safe workplace Perth, Perth safety suppliers, safety equipment suppliers, and get results. And then it comes back with a list of suggestions, and really what we're looking for is the ability to put a phrase together, 3 to 5 words. So you search by biggest volume, so 10 to 1,000, 100,000, 1 to 10,000, and really you want to identify a word that's going to get decent search volumes. Now you could prefix some of these, you could put a word at the front of some of these search terms, could be something that you specialize in, or it could be a feature, or it could be a location, for example, that gives you that 3 to 5 word phrase. Now, with Keyword Planner, you can also broaden your search, you can refine the keywords. It's very, very flexible. And in my opinion, this should be your starting point. So this then tells you what content you should have on your website. It's going to attract the right type of customer to your website and start to get some traction. So it's like your foundation, in my opinion. So definitely have a play around with that and start to think about what are those keywords. Once you've done that, really what you need to do is then optimize your site, your website around those keywords. So I'm just going to show you this in a relatively simple way, because it is pretty simple, really. So think about those keywords you've got and the structure that you have. So for example, homepage is the most important. So, think about that should be, the primary thing that your web, that's the page people are going to come to. So that should be your primary keyword, if you know what I mean, that identifies what your business does as a whole, versus services or products are going to be more about those particular products or services. So with that in mind, you just need to put your keyword essentially in certain places on your website. I know that sounds very simple, but search engines are going to index your site and they're going to look in certain places. The first place they'll look is the title of that web page, the URL. They'll read the first paragraph or two of the page and look at the image. So if the image has the alt image text, the body text has the keyword in it, the URL and the title does, then Google or Bing will understand what that page is about, and then you're more likely to rank because of that. And you can use variations as well, so you don't have to use car mechanic Darwin. You could also use roadworthy certificate, brake repair, and maybe link from those to those particular pages on your website, in addition to the keyword that you've chosen for that page. Okay, so that's how you optimize your content. It is really important because it's going to get that organic traffic to your site. It's going to raise your visibility. People will find you when they're looking for solutions along those lines. Okay, so I've talked about search engine optimization. There's also search engine marketing as a broader term that incorporates advertising as well. And I guess you could also argue that it includes Google My Business, Google Shopping, there's images, there's video, there's a lot of parts of a search page. And they're important because people are actually searching for your product. They're not like on Facebook, for example, scrolling their feed, looking for something interesting, and they randomly see your post or your ad. In this scenario, they're actively searching for your problem, or your product, or a solution to their problem. So they're what you might call a qualified lead. So this is why this type of traffic is important to businesses in particular. So I did touch on this briefly. So there's multiple areas that you want to really make sure you have a high visibility in. Now, not saying that you can always advertise, but advertise is just one option here. There's Google My Business, and then there's the organic results. So really you want to have at least a strong presence in ideally 2 out of 3 of those, if not all 3 of those. And then that's going to give you a good opportunity to grab that mind share, grab those visitors that are, still looking for a potential solution. Create awareness of your brand and your solutions and your services. So that incorporates Google My Business, of course. That's an important part of, getting onto that search page, increasing your visibility. So if you are a local business, then it's something that you should definitely do. If you haven't claimed your brand, your page or your profile on Google My Business, then you should definitely do that. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can just search for your business and claim it that way by clicking on that link, or just going to Google My Business and following the prompts that way by listing your business. And once you've done that, because they will need to verify your address, which you can hide, by the way, but if you work from home, for example, but they need to verify your address, but you need to then start to optimize your Google My Business listing, whether it's reviews or just your business listing. If you have a location that you want people to find, also your maps. And start to use Google reviews, and then maybe integrate them or sync them with your website. And so you're showing your Google reviews on your website, which builds that trust and credibility, like I mentioned earlier. Now, if you are a local business too, you should probably list your business. Even if you're not, I would strongly recommend this anyway. But list your business on these types of sites. These are what we call citation sites. They're business directories, essentially. So this is what people use to find businesses. You'll often see these in search results, and that's because people have listed their business on there. But it also gives you an important link back to your website, which is a very important thing. It's called off-page SEO, and it will raise your visibility even more. So if you just search for Australian citation sites, you'll probably find a number of these, and you can just go to those sites and add your business. So you will need things like your ABN, your business address, even though you can hide your address on a lot of them, etc. Normal business listing sort of information. And very importantly, your website address. Now, just still on the organic side, so getting found, blogs are an excellent way to engage with an audience, find an audience, and they're a particularly good way to rank for certain search terms. So, the example I'm going to provide here maybe isn't ideal because it's not really a B2B example, but just to give you some sort of an idea. So I'm on Google here. I searched for best handbags. So when Google thinks that you're asking a question, or you want a list of different solutions, or in this case, handbags, they will provide, in a lot of instances, blogs as solutions to those questions. So the best designer handbags, 12 Australian bags. So very much list oriented. And, if you do have a thing that lends itself, a solution or a service or product that lends itself to this type of content, then I would strongly recommend doing that. And the longer form you can do it, the better. So this is really what you do, is identify a keyword, or in this case, a question that you're going to answer. You know, what's 10 best ways to solve this particular problem, or the 10 best products for this solution, for example. I know that's probably not a good example, but they're just two that you might want to consider, for example. Now, the whole point of this was that I was going to show you that every single result on that page is a blog post. So blog posts do work particularly well. Now, you can also use things like, this is just, if you put your cursor in there, it'll also suggest other searches. This is Google Suggest. You can use that and it'll identify, you know, other questions that you might want to answer. There are also questions further down that people have also asked, or you can go to somewhere like Answer the Public and get some ideas from Answer the Public for ideas that you might want to answer in a blog post. Okay, so that's getting found organically, mostly through search. Now, what about your business getting found, or what about using social media as a channel to promote that content we were talking about before to those different users at different stages of their journey? So based on a recent research done by the Content Marketing Institute, they looked at different B2B marketers to see what they were using their social media marketing for. And according to this survey, most of them use it primarily for creating brand awareness. So where you're talking about who you are, what you do well, what you stand for. To a lesser degree, it was about educating the audience about your capabilities, your team skills, you know, projects that you're working on, and also educating them on your products or services in regards to their particular scenario. And thirdly, about building trust and credibility. So this is where you bring in your testimonials, reviews, awards that you might have won, for example, milestones that you've achieved. Could be, you know, in terms of capability milestones, could be project milestones, a whole range of different milestones there. So really, if you think about that, and this also fits into your funnel. So the top of the funnel would be creating brand awareness, telling people how you can solve their particular problem, educating audiences about why you should be the solution for them, and then building that credibility and trust when they're making a decision on who they're going to go with. So obviously there's a lot of different channels you can use in terms of your social media posting, and I include a couple here. For example, YouTube, you might not always consider that. Google My Business is definitely something you should treat like a social media channel like Facebook, and post regularly to it. But also your blogs, your blog posts. You know, it's debatable whether it's a social media channel, but it's a channel that you should be doing regular content to. And it could be your starting point. So you do a long form of some sort of content, and then you use cut down versions, snippets, or links that you're posting on all of these other channels, for example. Okay, so, and remember, blogs you can also reconstitute. So if one's done well in the past, you can bring it back and you can re-optimize it, if you like, and republish it to hopefully get back to some decent rankings. Now, it's all about regular and consistent posting to your particular audience. So that is important. You know, one of the ways to get around that regular and consistent posting is to maybe use a scheduling tool. I mentioned Buffer here, but there are lots of other scheduling tools out there. It's just about finding one, I guess, that publishes to your network, essentially, the channels that you're using. but definitely think about doing that so you can schedule your content well in advance. Well in advance might be a week, or it might be a fortnight or something. And you can then schedule the types of content to those 3 different stages of your persona's journey, if you like: the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Okay, now advertising. There is obviously, advertising is something that you should obviously consider as one of your marketing mix, if you like, or in your marketing mix. But there are some things that you might want to consider. Now, this is a general rule of thumb, but not necessarily always going to apply. But Facebook might be your primary target advertising platform if you're primarily selling to consumers. Google might be the ideal advertising platform if your product is searchable or getting searched for by both consumers and or businesses, but ideally businesses. And remember, when people are home, they are consumers, I guess, when they're not in their business role. But so LinkedIn is the platform you might want to consider if you're looking at targeting business and government and or government marketplaces. So couple of these, the differences between these again. So Google Ads, it's not called AdWords anymore. So that's going to be based on their search terms. So it relates a little bit back to the SEO. It relates very strongly back to the SEO. If you're going to optimize if you're going to do advertising, you've got to already have optimized your pages for those search terms. In other words, done your search engine optimization, ideally. Or just done it for advertising, but ideally you would do it for both. And it's often about their intent. So are they looking for information? Are they ready to buy? Are they looking for pricing comparisons? So this is the way that I guess Google has its strengths, in that you can advertise to those user intents. Facebook ads, though, of course, as everyone knows, it's based on their characteristics or general preferences that people are going to see your ads. And it's more about their behavior, their personality, and their interests. I often say it's more about, if you're advertising to Facebook to people on Facebook, it is more of a spontaneous purchasing decision. And it might be great for creating awareness, that sort of thing. But often they're not in that state of mind when they're looking for information for your particular product or service. I could be wrong, whereas with Google, I think they probably are more in that state. Now, LinkedIn, ideal for very specific targeting, by job title or by company industry type, for example. So we've talked about this, how powerful it is from a decision maker's perspective, but they're also not going to be as engaged. So you're not going to get the response, the click-through rates that you might get through other advertising forms. So types of advertising you can do on LinkedIn would be advertising to specific companies, for example, advertising to specific contacts, or it could be based on their job title, for example, or retargeting. So this is, they've visited your website, they're now on another website, you can then retarget them based on their interactions with you. So if you haven't been to the LinkedIn Marketing Solutions website, you should probably do it. There's a broad range of information there, quite useful information, answers a lot of the questions that you might have too. It's pretty much, it's sort of like a combination of search, Google advertising, I guess, and Facebook ads. So sponsored content would be like a boosted post, or boosted post, I guess. In-mail would be like messenger type advertising, but it's down to the individual user that you can target. And then text ads are more like Google search ads, for example. LinkedIn is quite easy to use. It comes with a campaign manager that's very simple, and they've focused all of their advertising around your marketing objectives. So, what are you trying to achieve? And, are you trying to achieve awareness? Are you trying to get your, people to consider your particular solution, or are you trying to convert them? Sorry, I'll just show you what's on there. There's a lot of information on LinkedIn. I do recommend that you check this out. But like I was saying, so what stages are you trying to target your particular customer or your audience? Is it when they're looking for a solution, creating awareness, consideration, or conversion? And arguably, if you're doing a campaign, you might want to be doing all three of these to some level. So you should always be creating some sort of brand awareness to get people into the funnel, people visiting your website, viewing videos, for example, and then converting. So as you can see, the different types of ads available, fairly similar to what you might see on the other platforms: carousel, conversation type ads, which is more like a messenger ad, lead generation ads. You can get people to follow you, generate followers, single image ads, for example, spotlight your particular product or service ads, and then simple text ads or video ads. So as you can see, quite a broad range of advertising options for you on LinkedIn. Now, if you are purely targeting, you've got a sales force potentially that are targeting businesses and you're looking for leads, then you might want to consider Sales Navigator, which is a tool that LinkedIn provide. Now, I think I provide pricing here, but I would strongly recommend that you maybe just talk to LinkedIn about that, because I'm not entirely sure if it's up to date, my pricing here. So I would strongly recommend that. But just a great lead generation type or prospecting tool, Sales Navigator. So we'll just see. I think I do talk about it here. So this is sales solutions as opposed to LinkedIn marketing solutions. And the Sales Navigator, you can find information here if you're interested in that, and pricing as well. So great little tools that the other platforms don't necessarily have. So I'm just, this is pre-recorded, just seeing if I go up to the pricing in a second. Yeah, so it depends on your sales team numbers, but like I said, probably best to double check that with LinkedIn themselves. Okay, oh, there you go. Yeah, so $99 per user per month. And it gets a little bit more expensive with the advanced version. Whoops, sorry. And yeah, like I said, you might want to just investigate that in your own time. Okay, now retargeting. So we've talked about attracting customers to your site, converting them potentially on your site to some degree, but really about now retargeting them. So this is where, they left your website, they didn't leave their email address potentially, or you just want to target them on other platforms for any of those marketing objectives, advertising objectives that you might have. So it could be about creating awareness or consideration. So this is really about when, like I said before, someone visits your site, you then promote or advertise to them on other platforms. Now, this is done through, pixels and cookies, for example, relatively straightforward. But this might be something that's, not going to be around for that much longer, given a range of privacy concerns and those sorts of things that are happening. So, it is, I think Google have announced the fact that they're dropping the Chrome pixel sometime next year or the year after, I'm not entirely sure. So I'm not sure what the targeting solutions or retargeting solutions might be after that, but this is something you can do currently. You can also do it through email marketing as well, which I will talk about shortly. So retargeting is something you might want to consider, and I would just investigate that depending on through the channel that you're going to be using primarily. So whether it's Google Ads or LinkedIn advertising or Facebook. So I did mention email marketing. I think it should be part of your marketing mix, particularly with B2B, because what it does, if you think about that funnel, it provides the glue between each of those stages. It allows you to move people down through the stage, nurture those leads, and turn them into customers ideally. So you do this through segmentation and through automation, where you're automating you've got some email flows and you're automating that to particular audiences with the goal to try to convert them. So there are lots of different tools out there. These are just some examples of some of the tools, not all of them by any means. This is just one example that I found a graphic for on the internet. I thought was pretty good. I like MailerLite. MailerLite is very, very good if you're just starting off and you're looking for a free plan to get started. Very, very good. All the features, and you don't pay until you've got 1,000 on your email list, right through to get response and active campaign, which are like the Rolls Royces, and do the same as most of these, but just more bells and whistles. And they have more features, like active campaign has a CRM, get response has a lot of pre-built sales funnels that are ready to go. You just fill in the detail if you like. So you need an email marketing platform that you might want to choose. Mailchimp is also very commonly used, also because it's good to start with, and also because it integrates with every other sort of platform, whether it's your website platform or your CRM or whatever it might be. So just showing you, this is Mailchimp if you've never been there. It does a lot of things nowadays. So email, landing pages, you can do some ads from here even, retargeting, a whole range of different things. So very powerful tool. You don't get all of these features on the free plan. Just showing you the pricing. So it's free, essentials, and standard, depending on how big your mailing list is, essentially. And you can change that to Australian dollars. And there you see, so for $1,500, $1,500 on your mailing list, it would cost you $28. For most of those things, maybe $71 for all of those things. So as opposed to say MailerLite, that would be free instead of $71, up to, I think it's 1,000. So definitely worth shopping around before you choose your email marketing platform. So email marketing is important because it's likely to be the most cost-effective and efficient of your marketing channels. So according to Forbes magazine, the highest return on investment of all the marketing channels is email marketing. Or according to HubSpot, it's 40 times more effective than Facebook and Twitter combined. Now, why is that the case? Well, it's because you're doing really personalized marketing right down to the individual segment. A segment is just a part of your email marketing list that may have done something that makes them a segment. They've certain, what would you call it? Parameters. It might just be a product they've bought, or they might be a VIP customer. It could be where they are. All sorts of different parameters would be a reason for you to segment them. What stage of their journey they're on, for example, would be another good one. And like I said, huge range of parameters. I'm just going to show you an example here. So this is a bit of it's really not a B2B example, but I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to create a segment. These are my lists, and I'm going to create a segment from that. So I just click on segment, and then I'm going to call it test just for this particular example. And then I can select a definition of what makes someone get added to this list. And a whole range of things here. I'm going to choose what someone has done or not done. And then I can choose what that metric is. So it could be something to do with the email platform I'm using, whether they've subscribed or not subscribed or not read my mail. But I could also choose something on my website. So this is a Shopify store. So I'm going to choose, for example, a product that they've ordered. And then I can, in this particular scenario, I'm going to choose that they've ordered it a few times, which makes them, if you like, a VIP customer. Therefore, they go onto that particular list. I can then send them particular emails that's relevant to them, rather than, you know, a newsletter that's sort of generalist, or something that's just completely irrelevant because they're not interested in that product or service. So that's what segmentation is. Once you've done that, you then need to do some automations. And automations are really automated flows. They're flows, but they happen automatically. So you don't have to physically get out there and send the email every time, because some of these emails need to be automated. So once again, maybe not a good B2B example, but some of these automations are based on behavior. So it could be based on the fact that someone's abandoned the cart on your store, for example, and that would be a typical automation. But it could be some other behavior. The fact that they're not responding to your emails, for example, in your email marketing, or something else. Could be based on a segment they're in. So are they a particular segment based on location, or how valuable they are as a customer, lapsed customers, all sorts of different segment triggers. Or it could be based on a date. So a date after, 6 months after they've purchased from you, you need to send them an email to say, hey, you've got to restock, and give them a link, a call to action to enable them to restock. So that's what automations are, and they're often flows. So they're more than one email. It's a series of emails. And, the most important probably is to send someone an email, a welcome email when they sign up to your email list. That's an automation. And that should be maybe 2 or 3 emails. The first one to say, thank you for signing up, and here's a bit about us. 3 days time, you might send them another email to say, and here's our social media channels. You might want to follow us on that. Here's some of our most recent posts. And a couple of days after that, you might send them an email about maybe something about your products and services, for example, what they might be interested in. So that's a good welcome email series that every business that's collecting email addresses should have in place. So just show you this quickly. This is, once again, just showing you how you can set up an automation. It's relatively easy. A lot of these platforms, this one I'm showing you here is Klaviyo, but it doesn't really matter. They might not call it Flow, they'll call it something else, or usually won't call automations. But you'll get the drift when you have your particular platform if they do that. So depending on the goal or the type of email you want to send, they have this preset automations, and you can just customize that to suit your particular needs. So if you do choose something like Mailchimp, for example, Mailchimp have these automations in place. So welcome message, educating subscribers, an annual recurring event or a one-time event, your best customers. So these are all sort of automated workflows. You can send them automated emails too. Okay, so that's email marketing. You might also want to consider some other things. So there are a range of different apps and tools that you might want to consider to just help with some of your sales process, for example. So there are a range of different proposal apps. I don't know if you've looked at these yourself. So they allow you to automate some of your proposal writing. So there's a few of them around. This is Proposify, and they have a range of templates, and you basically just customize that. And rather than reinventing the wheel every time you write a proposal. So Proposify is one of them. There's some templates there. We'll just have a look at those. So depending on what accounting, advertising, audiovisual, architect, business consulting, concrete, commercial lease, etc. So there's quite a few in there. You can see construction proposal. So that's Proposify. Just having a look at one of these ones. This is the construction one. And you would then just fill that out. There's your proposal with all of your templated stuff in there already, of course. There's also a few others, Panda Docs, Proposify, which is the one we're looking at, and Better Proposals. Better Proposals is more of like a PowerPoint type proposal presenter. Now, you wouldn't use these to respond to tender documents, for example, where they specify the exact format of your proposal, etc. So this is maybe just when you've got the ability to do freestyle quotes or proposals. There's also a range of project or process type tools. You know, there's a whole bunch of different ones now. They could be project management, but they're also about integrating some of the apps that you might use in your business. So it could be accounting or your email, something like that, some of your Microsoft software. So Monday is a good one of those sort of tools. You visit monday.com and quite a bit of functionality in one little app and not overly expensive. I think they have a free plan from memory. So it's a collaboration tool that also allows you to integrate a lot of your existing applications, project management, some of your activities, simplify some of your processes, for example. So that's one you might want to consider, monday.com. It's also Asana. So Business Station, for example, we use Asana to run a lot of our business, actually. So what I'm doing today, for example, was partly organized through Asana. So that's another tool you might want to consider. There's also ClickUp, similar sort of application. Now, we didn't talk about e-commerce very much, but you can, of course, use your online presence to sell your products and services too. It doesn't mean that it's the realm of consumer marketplaces only. In fact, a lot of the platforms are ideal for just promoting your products and services, even if people aren't necessarily going to order them online. Also enables you to, for some platforms, for example, WordPress and Woocommerce, you can set different user roles. So when a wholesale customer signs up, they get assigned a wholesale role. They therefore see wholesale pricing, for example. You know, and a lot of these platforms, doesn't matter if it's WordPress or whatever, depending, are perfect for any sort of product, whether it's physical or virtual, you know, wholesale or retail, like I mentioned before, products or services. You can still offer them through your website in an e-commerce type of way. If not, you know, take bookings, for example, or appointments might be another way that you might want to do that. Okay, so that's it for me today. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you got some value out of today. If you do have any questions, please feel free to contact me at that email address there, ricky@businessstation.com.au. Now, I did mention already that this program is part of the Business Station Digital Solutions program. Now, if you're not on that program, you might be interested in finding out more. The Digital Solutions program is basically a 7-hour personalized business mentoring program for $44. So just follow the businessstation.com.au, go to that particular website, or follow this particular link here to register, which is businessstation.link/register. Okay, thank you very much for your time, everyone. Do appreciate it. Hope you got some value out of that, and good luck with your business.